The Arctic wind howled across the barren landscape, whipping snow into frenzied eddies that danced against the twilight sky. Dr. Ilara Voss squinted through her goggles, the heating elements in her suit barely keeping the biting cold at bay. She checked her wrist display. -70°C. Just another balmy day in 2750's climate-changed Arctic. Team, hold position. She commanded through the comlink. Orbitals picking up some strange readings. Behind her, a group of 5 scientists and a robotic assistants came to a halt, their exosuits whirring as servos adjusted to the uneven ice. Dr. Kaido Nakamura, the team's geophysicist, stepped forward. What kind of readings, Ilara? More isotope anomalies. Ilara shook her head, frost falling from her helmet. No, it's different. Electromagnetic signatures unlike anything we've seen before, and they're strong, getting stronger by the second. As if on cue, the ground beneath them began to tremble. At first, it was barely perceptible, but within moments, the ice was groaning and cracking around them. Everyone, activate mag boots. Ilara shouted. Kai, what the hell is going on? Kato was already on his knees, pressing various sensors against the ice. It's impossible. I'm detecting a massive heat bloom about 50 meters below us, and it's rising fast. The team scrambled to secure their equipment as the tremors intensified. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from beneath the ice, shooting skyward like a beacon. The frozen surface began to splinter and melt, steam billowing up in great clouds. Fall back, Ilara ordered, but her words were drowned out by an ear-splitting crack. The ice gave way beneath them, and for a heart-stopping moment, they were in free fall. Their mag boots activated just in time, latching onto a smooth metallic surface that had been hidden beneath millennia of ice. As the team regained their footing, they found themselves standing on what appeared to be the hull of an enormous vessel. Is that a ship? Dr. Zara Okoro, the team's historian, gasped in awe. As the steam cleared, the full magnitude of their discovery became apparent. Stretching out before them for hundreds of meters was the deck of a battleship, its dark metal unmarred by rust or wear. Near the bow, barely visible through the dissipating mist, stood a tall mast bearing a tattered but unmistakable flag, the stars and stripes of the old United States of America. Impossible, Kaido muttered. This ship, it can't be more than a few hundred years old, but that's a 21st century design. Ilara's mind raced. Zara, any ideas? The historian shook her head in disbelief. It looks like a Zumwalt-class destroyer, but bigger, much bigger. They were decommissioned centuries ago. This shouldn't exist. A low hum began to emanate from the ship, growing in intensity. Lights flickered to life along the deck, and the team watched in stunned silence as holographic figures began to materialize around them. Sailors in outdated uniforms, going about their duties as if the Arctic explorers weren't even there. This is U.S. Defiant, a disembodied voice boomed, causing the team to jump. State your identity and intentions. Ilara stepped forward, her heart pounding. I am Dr. Ilara Voss of the United Earth Science Division. We mean you no harm. Can you tell us who you are? There was a pause, and then the voice returned, softer this time. Processing. Error. Temporal anomaly detected. Last recorded date, June 15, 2035. Current date, unknown. Please provide temporal coordinates. The team exchanged looks of shock. Ilara swallowed hard before responding. Today's date is February 22, 2750. Another pause, longer this time. Then, to everyone's surprise, a holographic figure materialized directly in front of Ilara. It was a woman in a captain's uniform, her expression a mix of confusion and determination. I am Captain Samantha Reeves of the U.S. Defiant, the hologram said. And it seems we have a lot to discuss, Dr. Voss. Welcome aboard. 715 years in the future. As the implications of this encounter began to sink in, alarms suddenly blared across the ship. The holographic crews sprang into action, and Captain Reeves's expression turned grim. "Doctor," she said urgently, "I don't know what's happened in the centuries we've been asleep, but my systems are detecting multiple inbound threats. If you're truly from Earth's future, we may need your help. The Defiant was built to be humanity's last line of defense. I fear that time may have come sooner than we expected." The Arctic wind continued to howl, but now it carried with it the promise of long-buried secrets and impending danger. Humanity's past and future were about to collide, and the fate of Earth might just depend on a ship out of time. The United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, headquarters buzzed with frantic activity. Admiral Zhen Wang strode purposefully through the holographic war room, her face a mask of grim determination. Projections of star systems flickered around her, each bearing an ominous red marker. "Status report," she barked, coming to a stop before a bank of neural-linked analysts. A young lieutenant, his eyes glazed over with streaming data, spoke without looking up. "Admiral, we've lost contact with Proxima Centauri B colony. That makes 7 in the last 48 hours. Zhen's jaw tightened. "Pattern. Same as the others, ma'am." A garbled distress call. Then, nothing. The Admiral turned to face the central hologram, a massive 3D representation of known space. One by one, lights representing human colonies winked out, leaving a trail of darkness creeping towards Earth. "Play the latest transmission," Zhen ordered. The air crackled with static before a panicked voice cut through. "Massive ships, like nothing we've... Oh God, they're opening. Some kind of harvesting beam. They're taking everything, everyone. If anyone can hear this, please. Earth needs to know. The void." The message cut off abruptly, leaving only the hollow echo of fear in its wake. Dr. Ilara Voss burst into the war room, still clad in her Arctic gear. "Admiral Wang, we've made a discovery that could change everything." Zhen held up a hand, silencing her. "Not now, Doctor. We're facing a potential extinction-level threat." "That's precisely why you need to hear this," Ilara insisted. She approached the holographic display and interfaced her wrist computer. Suddenly, a new image appeared. The massive form of the U.S. Defiant. "We found this ship buried in the Arctic ice. It's from the 21st century, but it's beyond anything we have now." The Admiral's eyes widened. "Impossible. Our greatest ships are centuries ahead of anything from that era." And yet, a new voice chimed in as the holographic form of Captain Samantha Reeves materialized. "Here we are." The war room fell silent, all eyes locked on the ghostly figure from the past. "Admiral," Reeves continued, "my ship was designed to face threats beyond human imagination. We were put on ice, literally, as a fail-safe. If what Dr. Voss tells me is true, that time has come." Before Jen could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The lieutenant's voice rang out, tinged with panic. "Massive anomaly detected at the edge of the solar system. It's bigger than Jupiter." A holographic display shifted, revealing a vast, shapeless mass emerging from the darkness of space. As they watched, it began to split apart into hundreds, no, thousands, of smaller shapes. "The Voidborn," Ilara whispered, the name sending a chill through the room. Admiral Wang's voice cut through the stunned silence. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At current speeds, 72 hours, Mom." Zhen turned to Ilara and the holographic captain. "Dr. Voss, Captain Reeves, I don't pretend to understand what's happening here, but it's clear we need that ship. Can you get it operational?" Reeves nodded. "The Defiant was built to be ready at a moment's notice, but I'll need a crew, people from your time who understand current threats and technologies." "You'll have the best we can offer," Zhen assured her. She turned to Ilara. "Doctor, you're now the liaison between past and present. Work with Captain Reeves. Unlock whatever secrets that ship holds." As the war room erupted into action, Ilara felt the weight of history, of humanity's very survival, settling on her shoulders. She looked at the holographic captain, seeing her own determination reflected in those eyes from the past. "Well, Captain," Ilara said, managing a grim smile, "looks like we have a lot of work to do, and precious little time to do it." Reeves nodded, her form flickering slightly. "Indeed, Doctor, the future of humanity rests on a ship out of time, and a crew that hasn't even met yet. Let's make history. Again." As they rushed out, the holographic display behind them showed the Voidborn fleet advancing, a tide of darkness creeping ever closer to humanity's last bastion. The clock was ticking, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Arctic base surrounding the U.S. Defiant had transformed into a hive of frenetic activity. Temporary structures dotted the icy landscape, housing thousands of Earth's brightest minds working around the clock. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the ship's entrance, her breath forming clouds in the frigid air as she watched a team of engineers struggle with an anti-gravity lift. "Careful with that quantum core," she shouted, wincing as the device wobbled precariously. "We've only got one shot at this." Inside the ship, the situation was equally chaotic. Captain Samantha Reeves' hologram flickered between stations, her face a mask of concentration as she interfaced with the ship's systems. "Dr. Voss," the captain's voice crackled through Ilara's earpiece, "we've got a problem in the engine room. The AI is resisting integration with your modern systems." Ilara cursed under her breath. "On my way." As she navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the Defiant, Ilara marveled at the ship's construction. Surfaces that appeared to be solid metal would suddenly become transparent, revealing complex machinery pulsing with energy. It was like nothing she'd ever seen, a blend of brute force and unimaginable finesse. She arrived at the engine room to find a team of scientists backed against the wall, eyeing the central console warily. Holographic warning symbols flashed in the air, bathing the room in an ominous red glow. "What's the situation?" Ilara demanded. Dr. K. Nakamura, looking pale and shaken, stepped forward. "The AI, it's not just resisting. It's actively fighting back. Watch." He reached out to touch a control panel, and a bolt of energy lashed out, narrowly missing his hand. "It's like the ship thinks we're invaders," Kai explained. "We can't access any of the primary systems." Captain Reeves materialized beside them, her expression grim. The Defiant's AI was designed to be paranoid. Given the temporal discontinuity, it likely sees your presence as a security breach. Ilara's mind raced. "We need to convince it we're friendlies. Captain, can you communicate with the AI directly?" Reeves nodded. "I can try. But..." She was cut off by a deafening alarm. The ship shuddered, and for a moment, Ilara feared they'd triggered some kind of self-destruct sequence. Then she realized the vibrations were coming from outside. "Proximity alert," Kai shouted, checking his wrist display. "Something just entered Earth's atmosphere. It's big, and it's heading straight for us." Ilara's blood ran cold. The Voidborn. They're early. Captain Reeves' hologram flickered intensely. "Doctor, we're out of time. The ship's weapon systems are still locked down. If we can't get them online, then Earth is defenseless." Ilara finished. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Captain, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might be our only shot." She approached the central console, ignoring the crackling energy that danced across its surface. "Ship," she said, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. "I am Dr. Ilara Voss of United Earth. We are not your enemy. We need your help to save humanity." The energy intensified, and for a moment, Ilara thought she'd made a terrible mistake. Then a new hologram materialized, a swirling vortex of light and data that coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape. "Proof," a booming voice demanded. "Prove you speak for Earth." Ilara didn't hesitate. She pulled a small device from her pocket, a quantum entanglement communicator linked directly to UEDF HQ. "Admiral Wong," She said, "We need emergency authorization. The fate of Earth depends on it." There was a tense moment of silence. Then Admiral Wong's voice filled the engine room. "By the authority vested in me by United Earth, I hereby grant the U.S. Defiant and all its systems full operational status. Authorization code Omega 7 Delta Epsilon 9. The effect was immediate. The red warning lights faded, replaced by a soft blue glow. The AI's form shifted, becoming more defined. A mirror image of Captain Reeves. Authorization accepted. The AI said, its voice now a perfect match for the captain's. All systems online. Weapons hot. What are your orders, Captain? Reeves straightened, a fierce determination in her eyes. Prepare for immediate launch. It's time to show these Voidborn what humanity is capable of. As the ship hummed to life around them, Ilara allowed herself a moment of hope. They had crossed the first hurdle, but the real battle was just beginning. The race against extinction had entered its final desperate phase. The U.S. Defiant tore through Earth's atmosphere, leaving a trail of superheated plasma in its wake. Inside the bridge, Dr. Ilara Voss gripped her seat, her knuckles white, as the ship bucked and shuddered around her. Structural integrity at 98% and holding, reported Lieutenant Commander Zara Okoro, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface. Whatever this ship is made of, it's tougher than anything I've ever seen. Captain Samantha Reeves' hologram stood at the center of the bridge, her ethereal form unaffected by the turbulence. Prepare for translunar injection. We need to intercept the Voidborn before they reach the moon. As the Defiant cleared the atmosphere, the view screens flickered to life, revealing the vast expanse of space. And there, just beyond the lunar orbit, loomed a sight that made Ilara's breath catch in her throat. The Voidborn fleet was a writhing mass of biomechanical monstrosity. Hundreds of ships, each the size of a small city, pulsed with an otherworldly energy. At their center, a massive vessel dwarfed all others, a planet killer, without a doubt. "My God," whispered Dr. Kai Nakamura from his station at the science console. "How are we supposed to fight that with one ship?" Captain Reeves turned to face the crew, her holographic eyes burning with determination. "With everything we've got. Tactical, arm all weapons. Helm, plot an attack vector for the lid ship." As the crew scrambled to obey, Ilara felt a strange tingling at the base of her skull. The sensation grew, spreading through her mind like wildfire. "Captain," she gasped, "something's happening." Her world exploded into light and data. Suddenly, Ilara could feel every system on the ship, every weapon, every sensor. It was as if she had become the Defiant itself. The AI's voice, now sounding remarkably like her own, echoed in her mind. Neural interface established. "Welcome aboard, Dr. Voss." Captain Reeves turned to her, a look of astonishment on her holographic face. "It appears the ship has chosen you as its primary interface, Doctor. This is unprecedented." Ilara stood, her eyes glowing with the same ethereal light as the captain's hologram. "I can see everything," she breathed. "The Voidborn ships, their weak points, possible attack strategies. It's all here." "Then let's put it to good use," Reeves said. "The Defiant is yours to command, Doctor. Show us what this ship can really do." With a thought, Ilara brought the Defiant's main weapons online. Ports along the hull opened, revealing an array of cannons and missile launchers that defied conventional physics. Targeting the lead Voidborn vessel, Ilara announced, her voice overlaid with a metallic resonance. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. A lance of pure energy erupted from the Defiant's bow, cutting through space like a knife through butter. It struck the Voidborn ship dead center, causing it to implode in a spectacular flash of light and debris. For a moment, there was stunned silence on the bridge. Then, Lieutenant Commander Okoro let out a whoop of triumph. Direct hit. Enemy vessel destroyed. But their victory was short-lived. The Voidborn fleet, momentarily thrown into disarray, quickly regrouped. Dozens of smaller ships broke formation, hurtling towards the Defiant with terrifying speed. "Evasive maneuvers," Captain Reeves ordered. Ilara didn't need to be told twice. With her mind melded to the ship's systems, she executed a series of impossible turns and rolls, weaving through the oncoming attackers with preternatural grace. "This is incredible," Kai exclaimed, watching the tactical display in awe. "The ship's moving in ways that should tear it apart." Captain Reeves nodded grimly. "The Defiant was built to break the rules of physics, but even it has limits. We need a strategy, and fast." As if in response to her words, a massive energy surge emanated from the Voidborn mothership. A swirling vortex of dark matter began to form, threatening to engulf the moon itself. "They're not here to conquer," Ilara realized, the ship's analysis flooding her mind. "They're here to harvest, to consume, and Earth is the main course." With the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, the crew of the U.S. Defiant faced their first true test. The baptism by fire had begun, and the crucible of space warfare would forge them into Earth's last, best hope for survival. The void between Earth and Jupiter crackled with energy as the U.S. Defiant dropped out of its experimental faster-than-light jump. Ilara gasped, her mind reeling from the neural interface's sensory overload. Through the Defiant's advanced sensors, she could feel the immense gravitational pull of the gas giant and the electromagnetic storms raging across its surface. "Status report," Captain Reeves demanded, her hologram flickering with concern. Lieutenant Commander Okoro's fingers flew across her console. FTL drive cooling down. Shields at 89% and regenerating. No sign of pursuit from the main Voidborn fleet. Dr. Kai Nakamura interjected, his voice tight with urgency. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual activity around Io. Energy signatures match what we saw at Earth, but on a smaller scale." Ilara's consciousness expanded, merging with the ship's long-range sensors. Her eyes widened as the horrifying scene came into focus. "It's a harvesting operation," she whispered. They're stripping Ao down to its core." The main viewer flickered to life, revealing a nightmarish tableau. A dozen Voidborn ships, each the size of a small moon, hovered around Jupiter's volcanic satellite. Tendrils of dark energy lashed out from the vessels, literally tearing the moon apart and absorbing its essence. Captain Reeves' expression hardened. "Tactical analysis. Dr. Voss, what are we dealing with?" Ilara closed her eyes, letting the ship's combat eye flow through her consciousness. 12 Voidborn harvesters, equivalent to heavy cruiser class. No sign of the planet killer we saw at Earth, but these are still far beyond anything in our arsenal. Except, her eyes snapped open, glowing with an inner fire. "We have an advantage they don't expect. Jupiter itself." "Explain," Reeves ordered, intrigued. "The Defiant's gravitational manipulators," Ilara said, her voice overlaid with the ship's eye. "We can use them to weaponize Jupiter's magnetic field, create localized storms, redirect plasma flows, hit them with the power of a gas giant." A slow smile spread across the holographic captain's face. "Now that's thinking outside the box. Helm, take us in. Tactical. Ready all weapons. Let's show these cosmic parasites what happens when they mess with humanity's backyard." The Defiant surged forward, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling storms. They were halfway to Io when the first Voidborn ship detected their approach. "Incoming," Okoro shouted. "They're launching some kind of biomechanical projectiles." "Evasive maneuvers," Reeves ordered calmly. "Dr. Voss, you're up." Ilara's consciousness merged fully with the ship. Time seemed to slow as she calculated trajectories, factoring in Jupiter's intense gravity and turbulent atmosphere. With a thought, she sent the Defiant into a series of corkscrews and loops that would have turned any human crew to paste. The Voidborn projectiles streaked past, missing by mere meters. But Ilara wasn't done. As they passed, she reached out with the ship's gravitational manipulators, subtly altering the course of the organic missiles. "Kai," she called out, her voice distant as if coming from the bottom of a well. Electromagnetic pulse in 3, 2, 1. The Defiant released a burst of energy, perfectly timed to detonate the redirected void-borne weapons. The resulting explosion created a localized disruption in Jupiter's magnetosphere, sending a titanic bolt of lightning arcing towards the nearest harvester ship. The strike hit home with devastating effect. The void-borne vessel's shields sputtered and failed, leaving it vulnerable to the gas giant's punishing atmosphere. Within seconds, the ship was torn apart by the intense pressures and electromagnetic forces. Direct hit. Okoro cheered. 1 down, 11 to go. But their victory was short-lived. The remaining void-borne ships broke off their attack on Io, turning their full attention to the Defiant. A hail of energy beams and exotic particles filled space, forcing Ilara to push the ship's maneuverability to its limits. "We've got their attention," Reeves noted grimly. "Now comes the hard part. Doctor, can you get us closer to Io? If we can disrupt their harvesting operation, we might buy Earth some time." Ilara nodded, sweat beading on her brow as she interfaced with the ship's systems, plotting a course through Jupiter's flux tube. "It'll be a rough ride, but it should provide some cover." As the Defiant plunged into the maelstrom of charged particles connecting Jupiter and Io, Ilara felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her. The dance of death had begun, and one misstep could mean the end of everything. The Defiant screamed through Jupiter's flux tube, a tunnel of intense electromagnetic energy connecting the gas giant to its moon Io. Outside, the void blazed with the fury of charged particles and radiation that would have vaporized any conventional ship. Inside, Ilara's mind raced in perfect synchronization with the ship's eye. Her consciousness expanded, encompassing not just the Defiant but the space around it. She could feel the ebb and flow of Jupiter's magnetosphere, the volcanic heartbeat of Io, and the ominous presence of the void-borne ships. "Exiting the flux tube in 3, 2, 1, she announced, her voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. The Defiant burst from the electromagnetic maelstrom, emerging behind the void-borne fleet. For a split second, the alien ships seemed caught off guard, their harvesting beams still focused on Io's mantle. Captain Reeves wasted no time. "All weapons, fire at will." A dazzling array of energy beams, quantum torpedoes, and gravity pulses erupted from the Defiant. 3 void-borne ships, their defenses still recalibrating from the flux tube interference, crumpled under the assault. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining vessels turned with unnatural speed, unleashing a barrage that pushed the Defiant's shields to their limits. Shields at 42% and dropping. Okoro shouted over the din of alarms. Ilara gritted her teeth, pushing the ship into a series of maneuvers that defied physics, rerouting power from non-essential systems, initiating emergency shield regeneration protocols. As she spoke, tendrils of energy began to coalesce around the Defiant, drawing power from Jupiter's intense magnetic field. The shield stabilized, but Ilara knew it was only a temporary solution. Suddenly, Kai's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, I'm detecting a quantum fluctuation in the void-borne communication network. It's like they're arguing among themselves." Reeves' hologram flickered with interest. "Can we exploit it?" Ilara's eyes glowed as she delved deeper into the ship's sensors. Yes, I see it. The void-borne aren't a unified entity. There's dissent in their ranks. Some of them are questioning the harvest." A plan began to form in her mind, a desperate gambit that might just turn the tide. "Captain, I need control of the ship's quantum communication array. I think I can send a message that will fracture their alliance." Reeves nodded grimly. "Do it." Ilara closed her eyes, channeling all her focus into the Defiant's communication systems. She crafted a message, not in words, but in pure quantum entanglement, a language of probability and potential that transcended conventional barriers. The message was simple yet profound, a vision of symbiosis instead of consumption, of growth instead of harvest. It carried with it the weight of humanity's history, our struggles, our triumphs, our relentless drive to explore and understand the universe. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a tsunami gathering force, a wave of confusion rippled through the Voidborn fleet. Ships began to break formation, their movements erratic and unpredictable. "It's working," Kai exclaimed. "The Voidborn fleet is losing cohesion. Some ships are actually turning against each other." Reeves' hologram straightened, a fierce light in her eyes. "This is our chance. All power to weapons. Target their command and control nodes." The Defiant surged forward, unleashing its full arsenal. Voidborn ships, their defenses weakened by internal strife, fell one by one. Those that survived began to retreat, jumping to faster-than-light speeds in a chaotic exodus. As the last enemy vessel disappeared from sensors, a stunned silence fell over the bridge. It was Okoro who finally broke it, her voice filled with awe. We did it. We actually won." But Ilara knew the battle was far from over. As the neural interface fed her tactical data, she saw the bigger picture. "This was just a scouting force," she said gravely. "The main Voidborn fleet is still out there, still heading for Earth. But we've bought ourselves time, and more importantly, allies." On the main viewer, the impossible was unfolding. Voidborn ships were returning, not to attack but to communicate. The quantum message had done more than sound distant. It had awakened something long dormant in some of the Voidborn. A desire for change, for redemption. Captain Reeves turned to her crew, her holographic form pulsing with determination. "Send word to Earth. The tide of war has turned, but the real battle is just beginning. It's time to build an alliance that will shake the very foundations of the galaxy." As the Defiant prepared to receive its first Voidborn defectors, Ilara felt a glimmer of hope. In the crucible of conflict, humanity had not just survived. It had opened the door to a new era of cosmic understanding. The war room aboard the Defiant hummed with tension as holographic displays flickered with real-time battle data from across the solar system. Earth's hastily assembled fleet, bolstered by Voidborn defectors, clashed with the main invasion force in a series of desperate skirmishes. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the center, her eyes glowing with the ethereal light of her neural link to the ship. Beside her, Captain Reeves' hologram wore an expression of grim determination. The rest of the command staff, Kai, Okoro, and others, waited with bated breath. "The intel from our Voidborn allies is accurate," Ilara announced, her voice resonating with the ship's eye. "The enemy fleet is controlled by a central consciousness, a Dyson sphere built around a dying star at the edge of the galaxy." Kay's eyes widened. A Dyson sphere. The energy requirements for something like that are incalculable. "Which is precisely why they harvest worlds," Captain Reeves interjected. "They're trying to stave off the heat death of the universe, one planet at a time." Ilara nodded, holographic schematics materializing around her. "The sphere is their weakness. If we can reach it, we might be able to end this war in one stroke." "And how exactly do we do that?" Okoro asked, skepticism clear in her voice. "Even with our Voidborn allies, we're outnumbered and outgunned. A direct assault would be suicide." A sly smile crept across Ilara's face. "Who said anything about a direct assault? We have something they don't expect. The Defiant's quantum drive." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Reeves who finally spoke. "You're proposing we jump directly into the heart of enemy territory. Even for this ship, that's unprecedented." "Unprecedented, yes. Impossible, no." Ilara's eyes blazed brighter. "I've been working with the ship's AI to modify the drive. We can create a quantum tunnel directly to the Dyson sphere. A small team could infiltrate while the main fleet provides a distraction." For a long moment, no one spoke. The risks were enormous, but the potential payoff, ending the war and saving Earth, was too great to ignore. Captain Reeves straightened, her holographic form seeming to grow more solid with resolve. "Very well, Doctor. Assemble your team. We leave in 1 hour." The next 60 minutes passed in a blur of preparation. Ilara found herself in the Defiant's engine room, surrounded by a dizzying array of quantum technology that pushed the boundaries of known physics. As she made the final adjustments to the drive, she felt a presence behind her. Turning, she saw Kai, suited up and ready for action. "I'm coming with you," he said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You'll need a scientist on the ground. And, well, someone needs to watch your back." Ilara nodded, gratitude welling up inside her. As they made their way to the bridge, she felt the weight of the mission settling on her shoulders. The fate of Earth, of the entire galaxy, rested on what they did next. The Defiance Bridge was a hive of activity as final preparations were made. Captain Reeves' hologram stood at the helm, her ethereal form radiating authority. "All stations, report in," she commanded. One by one, the crew confirmed their readiness. Ilara took her place at the neural interface, feeling the ship's systems come alive around her. "Quantum drive spooling up," she announced. "Tunnel coordinates locked on target." Outside, the vast emptiness of space began to warp and twist. A swirling vortex of energy formed in front of the Defiant, growing larger by the second. "This is it," Reeves said, her voice cutting through the tension. "Whatever happens next, know that you've all made humanity proud. Good luck, and Godspeed." With a thought from Ilara, the Defiant surged forward. The quantum tunnel enveloped them, reality itself seeming to fold and unfold around the ship. For a timeless moment, they existed everywhere and nowhere at once. Then, with a flash of blinding light, they emerged. Before them loomed a structure of impossible scale, the Dyson Sphere, an artificial shell encompassing an entire star. And all around, the heart of the Voidborn fleet, caught completely by surprise. As alarms blared and enemy ships scrambled to respond, Ilara felt a fierce determination take hold. They had breached the heart of darkness. Now, it was time to bring the light. The Defiant hung in space, dwarfed by the colossal Dyson Sphere that engulfed the dying star. Ilara's mind raced, processing the flood of data from the ship's sensors. The sphere's surface was a maze of biomechanical structures, pulsing with dark energy. Voidborn ships approaching from all vectors, Okoro reported, her voice tense. "We've got minutes before we're overwhelmed." Captain Reeves' hologram flickered. "Dr. Voss, it's now or never. You and Dr. Nakamura need to get inside that sphere." Ilara nodded, her eyes glowing with determination. Preparing for neural disengagement. "Kai, meet me in the teleportation chamber." As she severed her direct link with the ship, Ilara felt a moment of vertigo. The Defiant had become an extension of herself, and letting go was like losing a limb. But there was no time for adjustment. Earth's fate hung in the balance. Moments later, Ilara and Kai materialized inside the Dyson Sphere. The interior was a nightmarish landscape of twisted metal and pulsating organic matter. Rivers of dark energy flowed around them, feeding the central consciousness that guided the Voidborn fleet. "This way," Ilara whispered, following the pull of the sphere's core. "We need to reach the central node." As they navigated the alien corridors, the very structure seemed to resist them. Tendrils of energy lashed out, forcing them to dodge and weave. Kai's handheld scanner beeped urgently. "Ilara, these energy readings, they're off the charts. It's like the entire sphere is alive." A booming voice, more felt than heard, reverberated through the structure. "Into readers, you seek to destroy us. But UTANOTQOMPRE and our purpose." Ilara pressed on, her mind racing. "We're not here to destroy you," she called out. "We're here to offer an alternative." They rounded a corner and found themselves in a vast chamber. At its center floated a writhing mass of dark energy, the heart of the Voidborn consciousness. The voice spoke again, this time tinged with curiosity. "ALTURNATIV. There is no ALTURNATV. Entropy. As I nin evita bill. We must consume to survive. Kai stepped forward, his scientific mind engaging. But at what cost? You're destroying entire civilizations, entire worlds. There has to be another way. Ilara reached out, not with her hands but with her mind, drawing on her experience with the Defiance neural interface. "Let me show you," she said. As her consciousness brushed against the voidborn entity, Ilara was overwhelmed by eons of existence, of fear and desperation in the face of a dying universe. But she pushed back with humanity's history, our triumphs and failures, our art and science, our relentless drive to explore and understand. "We've faced extinction before," Ilara projected, her thoughts merging with the alien mind. "And each time, we found a way forward, not through destruction, but through innovation and cooperation." The chamber trembled as the voidborn consciousness grappled with these new concepts. Outside, the battle raged, but within the sphere, a different kind of conflict was unfolding. A war of ideas. Kai added his voice to Ilara's mental projection. "Think of what we could accomplish together. Your knowledge of the universe, combined with our creativity and adaptability. We could find a way to transcend entropy itself." For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the dark energy began to shift and change. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a sense of wonder. "We understand," the voice said, softer now. "For so long, we saw only one paete, but you have shown us another." The sphere shuddered, and Ilara felt a massive quantum shift rippling outward. Outside, the voidborn fleet stood down, weapons powering off. "It's done," Ilara breathed, tears of relief and exhaustion streaming down her face. "We did it." As the realization of their victory sank in, Ilara and Kai shared a look of profound understanding. They had not just saved Earth, they had changed the course of cosmic history. The Defiance teleportation beam enveloped them, bringing them back to the ship. As they materialized on the bridge, they were met with cheers and disbelieving laughter from the crew. Captain Reeves' hologram approached, a smile of pride on her face. "Well done, both of you. Thanks to your efforts, we stand at the dawn of a new era. An era of cooperation, of shared knowledge and purpose." Ilara looked out at the Dyson sphere, now pulsing with a softer, almost inviting light. "The real work," she said, her voice filled with hope and determination, "is just beginning." As the Defiant prepared to return to Earth, carrying news of peace and the promise of unimaginable scientific advancements, Ilara knew that humanity's destiny had been rewritten. The stars, once a realm of terror and conflict, now beckoned with endless possibilities. The incredible victory was complete, but the greatest adventure lay ahead.